Impact segment tonight, Talking Points memo. Why the most powerful man in the world does not want to lead. It's almost beyond belief that the USA and its Western allies have allowed a terror army to gain so much power. It's now ruling thousands of square miles and slaughtering thousands of innocent people, including women and children. The terror army is called ISIS or ISIL. It's an offshoot of al-Qaeda, and it began gaining strength 1 year ago in Syria when it captured the town of Aqqa. The ISIS army has publicly stated it wants to establish an Islamic caliphate and eventually attack America. They are not subtle people. From the beginning, President Obama underestimated the threat posed by these terrorists, telling the New Yorker magazine last January that they were the JV. Now the president has changed his opinion.
Did we underestimate? I think that there is no doubt that their advance, their movement over the last several months has been more rapid than the intelligence estimates and I think the expectations of policymakers both in and outside of Iraq.
But Talking Points did not underestimate the terrorists. Nearly 2 months ago, I said this: why hasn't the United States been confronting the al-Qaeda army? The ISIS people, they control parts of Syria and northern Iraq, and we have known that for a long time. The USA should begin bombing the al-Qaeda army as soon as possible. We don't need any more meetings. Let's send a message that terrorists remain targets. Al-Qaeda is our enemy. You know, I feel like I'm lecturing fourth graders here. The fact that President Obama and his advisors did not think that a well-funded terror army was not going to cause enormous damage is simply inexplicable. I mean, what did the president think these people were going to do? Again, they are not subtle. They're killers. They murder women and children. They rape. They target Christians, Jews, and other non-Muslim religions. They're the absolute worst of humanity. And for 1 solid year, the most powerful man in the world, Barack Obama, did absolutely nothing to contain this threat. The situation is almost identical to what happened in the mid-1930s, when Hitler and his Nazi thugs were gaining power. Americans like Joseph Kennedy Sr., Charles Lindbergh, were sympathetic to the Third Reich, and almost half of America wanted to stay out of any conflict in Europe. Meanwhile, Hitler gained more power and eventually started World War II, resulting in more than 55 million human beings being killed in the European theater alone. Talking Points has said this before. There's no difference in the mentality of the Nazis and ISIS. They are identical in their hate and tactics. But the American media will not tell you that. In fact, they're busy replacing the word terrorist with the words militants and rebels.
Back in battle, the president orders U.S. warplanes to attack Sunni Muslim extremists in northern Iraq to stop a campaign of terror.
The airstrikes are also aimed at supporting Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, U.S. allies overrun by ISIS rebels this week.
Good evening, David. The U.S. military now has a green light to launch airstrikes as needed in Iraq, today pounding multiple targets, trying to stop the militants from advancing and from threatening American lives and the lives of thousands of Iraqi families trapped on that mountain.
The militants, the rebels. The New York Times started this business, refusing to call the ISIS army what they really are, terrorists. Not militants, not rebels. The left-wing media well understands that Americans viscerally respond to terrorists and want to punish them. And since many on the left want to diminish the terrorist threat, that's why they use these words. Now, how could any American want to stand down when thousands of innocent people are being killed by terrorists, not militants? I can't answer that question. I can only listen and shake my head.
I'm all for humanitarian aid at some level to start with, and maybe even a heck of a lot more. But I am not for international intervention here. You go over there and start a shooting match. What's our intel on the ground? Who are we going to be hitting? How do we know we're siding up with the right people?
I think it's going to make it worse. I think it makes it worse, one, because putting in more ordnance, bombing more people, always makes things worse. Bombs recruit terrorists that we've seen for 15 years now.
I don't think we can take out ISIS from a military point of view from the use of our airstrikes. That's not going to solve the problem.
Senator Cardin, of course, mistaken. The limited U.S. bombing has already pushed ISIS back and given the Kurds much more incentive to fight the terrorists, not militants, not rebels, the terrorists. Senator Cardin, you just heard, doesn't know what he's talking about. And the fact that he's actually in the Senate is frightening. But even more frightening is the most powerful man in the world, Barack Obama, does not want to confront evil. He simply wants to remain detached, hoping for some kind of mythical coalition to deal with deadly threats. The Wall Street Journal nailed it in their editorial last Friday, quote, "Perhaps history will mark this as the week that President Obama recognized that evil unimpeded will devour everything before it." But I don't think the White House will recognize anything, because I don't think President Obama looks at the world in terms of good and evil. For him, there is always a political solution, a consensus, a discussion. It's not only the ISIS situation that's looming. We now know Russia has violated the arms agreement and has been testing medium-range cruise missiles, a treaty violation. Putin knows the USA and Europe will do nothing about it. Iran's certainly not going to give up its nuclear research. It well understands the weakness of the West. Finally, when people like Hillary Clinton and other stalwart Democrats begin to criticize President Obama's foreign policy, you know things are out of control. And they are. But hopefully all the chaos will wake up Americans who are again asleep, just as we were before 9/11. American power should not be used unless it's absolutely necessary to save lives and defeat evil. We can't right all the wrongs on the planet. But if we allow Islamic terrorists to grow in power, as we have been doing, if we allow them to slaughter human beings at will, we are putting ourselves in grave danger. President Obama has to wise up, and fast. And that's a memo. Next on the rundown, reaction.